Hello, this episode is brought to you by Edwanna Travel. Call 909-841-7628 or go to edwannatravel.com for 15% off your next travel quote. Hello and welcome to another episode of Isimo Podcast. Isimo Podcast. Yes, we're getting it together here. My name is Gerardo Alarcon.
I'm Dominic Angel.
And I'm Ryan Reyes.
And today we are here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Por favor. Leave a like. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. It really helps us out. That's how you know I'm serious about that one. Because I go rate and review. It really
please
helps.
Please rate and review the podcast.
Yes.
Pretty please.
Pretty please. We will have a survey in the future because we have so many listeners and it'd be cool to know exactly how old they are. But for now, we don't have. Well, you know demographics.
Yeah, we need
to.
Okay.
Crazy. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, I also was trying not to cuss today, and I said I'm not fucking crazy. I said it twice now. But what's it called? Also, what else can I do?
What?
Follow us on Spotify.
Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram.
Instagram at
Review us at
isimopod.
Apple Podcasts.
ISIMOPOD. Email us at isimopod@gmail.com.
Yeah, send us emails because we're going to be doing a Q&A pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
If you guys are not familiar with the hot sauce saga.
Oh yes.
We took a 5-hour journey to get hot sauces. They were all disappointing. All delicious. They all tasted amazing. And we'll tell you about them later.
But that's not what we were looking for.
Yeah.
We were looking for burn my tongue off, rip my lips down. I want to be screaming. I cleared paths for us to run around in circles, to be pacing around because of how hot the sauce was. That didn't happen.
We bought a gallon of milk.
Yeah. We bought milk. However, there is developments. Do you want to save that all for later, though?
We can, just to give you guys a little bit of the story, is that after we had such a delicious disappointment, Gerardo took it upon himself to call every single hot sauce company that we bought from and give them a piece of our mind.
Mm-hmm. I spoke for the group, yes.
Spoke for the group. Also called a furniture store.
So I called all the hot sauces independently. They didn't answer. They didn't call me back. But what I did do, remember, if I called hotsauce.com.
Hotsauce.com, which a bunch of people that were part of the lives recommended we check out.
So I called them and left them a very lengthy voicemail. And the lady called me back. Thank you, Evelyn. Evelyn Morales, I think she is.
Yeah.
She called us back at 7:30 in the morning. Call me a little later, but it's okay. And she said she's going to send me 5 different hot sauces.
Yeah. She said they're going to ruin our day, so...
I think what helped was that you called the furniture store next door.
Yeah.
Left them a message like, if you could give this message to the hot sauce place.
That works right next to you. That makes terrible hot sauce. I think Evelyn's the one that I left the unmistakably pepper message, and I was like,
oh, that's right.
I made a mistake by buying this, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah.
You were so mad.
Yes, I was very mad. I am still pretty mad about it because it was all day. We spent all day. And then the climax was me just calling people saying that it wasn't hot.
But thank you everybody for being there. And
yes.
We're going to do it again.
We had a delicious meal.
But today we're talking about cartoons. Right, Ryan?
Yes.
So I'm going to let you take it away from here because everyone here knows how I feel about cartoons. And for the new listeners that don't know how I feel about it, I'm willing to say it to your face. I fucking hate cartoons. Anyways, Ryan.
Jesus. Well, I wanted to talk about more like, how we were connected, like how our community was represented in cartoons and media in general. But for me specifically, cartoons, like growing up, I'm super into cartoons. Mm-hmm. But something I've noticed is like there's not a lot of, even when there are like a lot of Hispanic presence, it's almost always because they got their own show and never like integrated into the other, like I can remember shows that were specifically like Mucha Lucha or like El Tigre. Sorry that I don't roll my R's. That were like specifically about Hispanic main characters from Mexico, and then there was other stuff where they were like once in a while here and there. Like one of the kids I think on Team Rocket was Mexican.
Rocket, the Nickelodeon show, right?
Rocket Power.
Rocket Power.
I like Rocket Power. Was it Nickelodeon or was it WB?
It was Nickelodeon.
It was Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the kids, I think, what was his name? Sid was...
Twister.
Twister was...
Mexicano?
Mexican. What was his real
He was
name?
Latino. I don't know. Maurice.
Maurice
Okay.
was
Mauricio, but whatever.
Latino.
I'm just kidding. Mauricio is Mexican, I think.
Yeah, and there was like that was like honestly like a very, for me, a very rare thing where they like not only introduced it but were like that was a presence. Like they don't talk about him being Latino, but they like explore his family and stuff like that. And I think sometimes I think they live with their grandmother. She speaks Spanish in the cartoon sometimes, and it's like, but it still wasn't the focus, and it often isn't. I think well, we'll get into it because I have other examples and questions. But one thing I wanted to ask, because I don't know if you've mentioned why you don't like cartoons.
Yeah.
If you're okay mentioning that here on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my mom did not like cartoons, and I was a kid at the time, right? I wanted to watch cartoons when I was a kid. Obviously, I loved video games. I couldn't play video games. I loved cartoons. I couldn't watch cartoons. My cousin RJ was super into South Park. And everything in his room was South Park. So I was like, this is something I need to watch. You know what I mean? As a kid, you don't know why you don't know why somebody else likes something. You just know like, oh, I want to be like RJ. You know what I mean? I want to watch South Park. I tried to watch South Park by asking for my mom's, consent, I guess you could say. What is it called?
Permission?
Permission. Jesus Christ. Permission, consent, tomato. Anyways, so I asked my mom if I could watch it, and they were like, hard no, dog. Like, no, we know what South Park is. No, I don't know what South Park is. I just know it's something that my cousin loves.
Yeah.
And he had like all these. He had literally every single thing in his room was South Park. Crazy. And so I just grew to like hate cartoons. So like I don't know. I like Rick and Morty now.
Yeah.
But that's also just something like a unique show. Like, I don't know. I think Titan AE was a movie when I was a kid. And I went to go see that in theaters with my friend Ben because him and his mom took me to go see it. For whatever reason, and I know my mom watches this, she fucking hated cartoons. And it transferred into me.
Did she hate cartoons or did she hate South Park?
I don't know. Like, South Park was a big deal in my adolescent mind. She probably doesn't even give a shit about it. She was just disciplining me. She was just like, no, you're not going to watch South Park.
Yeah.
They kill their friend every episode. You know what I mean? So I just grew to hate South Park and then in turn grew to hate cartoons. When I was a kid, I watched Cat Dog. I watched Spider-Man whenever it was on. I loved Spider-Man as a kid. Shout out Spider-Man. I wear this shirt though only when I feel lonely because Spider-Man's looking back at me. Hey, because he's upside down.
He's upside down.
Yeah. Also, kids in school, and this is like, I don't know, for whatever reason, my mom wouldn't let me watch certain channels. She would be watching like Fox News or whatever she would be watching, and I would just have to watch along with her, or like sports with my dad.
So you were very informed in what was going on in the world.
Yeah, from a different view of things. But what's it called? This is the one thing I wanted to bring up. I told you guys I had one thing I wanted to bring up. So, Ryan, give me your permission.
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, Johnny Bravo in school was a huge thing amongst Latino students that I went to school with. Say it right. I'm talking to myself. But Johnny Bravo was a huge thing for Latinos around me at school.
Yeah.
I always wanted to watch Johnny Bravo. I just didn't. And then whenever I got a chance to finally like sneak away and watch it, I did not understand. I was like, so disappointed with the show of Johnny Bravo. It was just a white guy that has a pompadour going, hey, baby. And he's like a super perv. And he just like loves, like, I don't know, he's like a pervert to me. Am I wrong?
I didn't know you were woke feminist when you were a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt that way. I just felt like this guy's a pervert. You
didn't want to do the monkey with him?
No, I mean, my mom would like threaten me. She said, you're not allowed to date until you're 30, cabron. You know, like that kind of shit.
Classic Latino mother.
Mm-hmm. I remember I came up to her when I was like 15 or something, and I was like, I have a crush on this girl, Taylor. She's like, you're not allowed to date till you're 30, cabron. I was like, oh my God.
You better wait till you're 15 more years.
I know. And then I got a girlfriend like when I was 30 years old.
Oh.
I was going to ask.
She called her shot like Babe Ruth, dog.
This is why you listen to your mothers.
Anyways, what did you guys think of Johnny Bravo as a kid?
I thought it was funny, but I also like got the idea that it's ironic, like he thinks of himself. Honestly, like Johnny Bravo is a perfect example of a non-Hispanic version of what we talked about before of machismo, where it's like he does what he thinks he's supposed to do, and then it backfires on him because women don't actually like that.
Yeah.
Also, I like doing the monkey.
What's the monkey? Oh, yeah. See, that was pretty funny, actually. But what were you going to say?
I thought it was funny because I was a kid. That's about it. It wasn't one of my favorite shows. I used to like Ed, Edd and Eddy and Dexter's Lab.
As a kid, perverted things made me feel uncomfortable. Like, I knew that as a kid. Yeah. I just did not like sexual things. And then I saw Girls Gone Wild at late night, and I was like, okay, this is something else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Every Latino. We go from cartoons to Girls Gone Wild. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
We just switch it to MTV at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
See the same ad run 15 times.
Yep.
They don't do it anymore, though.
They don't?
Well, no, because people kept complaining.
Oh.
Because kids figured it out and would watch it at night. It was like the closest thing I get. And then the internet happened, and it's like also internet affected their sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that was the 2 cents I wanted to share. And so like the reason why I don't like cartoon, and fucking hate me all you want. I don't care.
We don't, we swear.
No, I'm talking to people.
Oh, okay.
You guys did hate on me for a little while, but it is what it is.
It's not even about cartoons. Here's the thing you got to know about Gerardo is that I don't know what the fuck this fool likes or knows about. Like, he didn't know who fucking Marilyn Manson or Rob Zombie was, but he's seen all the animated Lord of the Rings.
Animated Lord of the Rings?
Oh wait, you didn't see that, but you did see Lord. I was like, oh, you probably like this. But you never seen Lord of the Rings. And he's like, what are you talking about? I read all the books. I seen it. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I can never tell with this fool what he likes because he hates everything.
Because he likes Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's awesome. Are you kidding me? Tom Holland's my guy.
He didn't like
Holland.
Sonic. He started watching Sonic. He became a Sonic the Hedgehog fan because of the new movie.
Yes.
Not the cartoon.
Not the cartoon,
or
not
the
the
games
comic,
or the comics.
the video games.
Yeah, I became a Sonic the Hedgehog fan because I like Jim Carrey. Kill me.
You're just a Jim Carrey fan.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Jim Carrey was my cartoons as a kid. I watched Liar Liar constantly as a kid. Like, on repeat. VHS of Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar. Those are the 2 that I can remember.
Ace Ventura?
No. Ace Ventura, my mom didn't want me to watch that because it was about the transfer.
Damn, I was going to say, Ace Ventura got a cartoon. What about The Mask?
The Mask I liked, but I didn't like watching it over and over. Liar Liar was like my crack.
Liar Liar, you could, especially as a kid.
You can watch it today. It's still kind of...
Yeah. I did watch it recently during the quarantine. I love that movie. And every freaking time as a kid, this is so funny to me, I would cry at the end when they were on the airport. And like, you know, Jim Carrey was like running with
I love my son!
And I would be like,
I just imagine little Gerardo walking around going, I've had better.
I've had better.
How do you like your ex meal?
I've had better.
I've had better. Oh, yeah. I loved Jim Carrey as a kid. And then also Robin Williams. I found Robin Williams at the Met Gala somehow when I was younger. And I watched that on repeat. Just him doing his shtick with the wagon behind him.
Yeah.
Those were like cartoons to me. I liked Aladdin a lot. I loved Aladdin as a kid.
Mm-hmm. They had a cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't watch the cartoon series though, just the movie. No. I watched Aladdin, King of Thieves, and the last one, Return to Jafar. Yeah, over and over as a kid.
Oh, I was just gonna bring it back because Mucha Lucha, that was huge. That must have come out when I was like 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah,
that was like fucking tight because they had all the references that you knew as a kid. They had like references to like elotes and like I don't know why that was the first one, but like. It's funny because I was never even like I don't know about like lucha libre except through like my friends that used to go to Mexico all the time or like that would tell us stories about it. But it's like the family dynamics, the cultural references, or just like they're all there. Mucha Lucha was pretty big for me when I was a kid.
Yeah. What was really cool about it for me was like it's a very, you know, it's luchadors. It was a very like Mexican thing, but it was like a Mexican American city, so non-Hispanic kids or like mixed kids went to this school and also participated. And it's kind of the environment that we grew up in, where it was mostly Hispanic, but you know, obviously there's other demographics involved. So it was like even that dynamic itself was relatable.
Yeah. Well, at the cost of the audience, if they already know the show, what is the show about?
It's kind of like it's in this world that exists. These like everybody's a luchador, and they all have costumes.
That's literally it.
That's literally all it is, and they go to school. It's kind of like that movie Sky High, or I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff. It's like an anime.
Yeah.
Where everyone is this thing.
Everyone at this school is this thing. So it's like a luchador school. I remember there was so the main character, his name is Ricochet.
Rico?
Ricochet.
Ricochet, like Ricochet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they say
Ricochet. His name was Rico.
Anyway, his best friend was called the Flea, and he always referred to himself in the third person. He was my favorite character because he liked to fart.
That was his superpower.
So
all of them got a special move.
Yeah. So there's like everybody has a signature move, and that was a big part of one of the episodes was that everybody was developing their signature moves, and Ricochet didn't have one. And then he got one. I forgot what it's called, but he turned into a pinball. Turned into a pinball. Went.
So was their whole life fighting, or did they have like set tournaments and stuff?
You know, it was fighting, family, friends.
But like, no, I'm talking about the living day to day.
No, I mean, everything was centered around. I mean, this is when I was a kid, so I'm trying to remember everything. But everything is centered around fighting. Like, he had like test. Like a test was like a competition versus him and another, and the bully. He had to fight the bully, or he had to fight the popular kid, or something like that. And then there's like stuff with, of course, they have like an old grandpa who's like a luchador legend. His dad is a legend, that kind of thing. So there's like patriarchal themes in there. But yeah, it's all pretty much centered around fighting. There's other stuff that happened, I'm sure, where I think they had to save like a business or something.
Yeah.
But it's all centered around them using wrestling to solve their problems.
I loved Rocket Power when I was a kid, but I don't really remember it. I just remember I would watch it when I would get home.
Surf and skate,
Yeah.
I don't remember if they were like California based or if they were from Hawaii. I knew there was like one character that was from Hawaii.
Yeah, Tito was from Hawaii.
Yeah. Tito
was from Hawaii.
But I think they were just like fucking the Lords of Dogtown kind of based.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it was like California beachside based.
Yeah.
I like that show too because it was also another representation. I don't remember. I think those kids were supposed to be mixed. You never meet the mom, but it was like, I feel like implied that they were mixed.
Yeah.
Oh, they definitely were.
And then they had Twister, who was Hispanic, Latino.
Question: did SpongeBob SquarePants ever have a Latino character in it?
Not that I can remember. They might have had like some like Spanish like bullfighter type character.
Oh yeah.
Like in somewhere in there.
A colonizer.
A colonizer. Dude, you know what's crazy? Did you ever watch Regular Show?
No, I never watched Regular Show.
Okay. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know.
Just very briefly, it's like a weird cartoon world. What is he? A raccoon and a blue jay.
I know what it is now.
Okay, so that one where they work at a park.
Yeah.
There's an episode where an otter comes to stay there, and this fool starts taking Rigby's place. Like he starts becoming more and more like Rigby,
the raccoon.
Mm-hmm. But he goes there. At first, he starts taking the jobs that Rigby doesn't want to do, and then slowly over the episode, he starts to steal his identity. But guess what? When they introduce this character, they pick him up from a bus stop. He's wearing like a trucker's cap that's like red, white, and green, and he has like a thin mustache. I'm like, this fool, like they're coding this fool as a Mexican immigrant that came to our country to steal jobs, and like I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Because
this is why I hate cartoons. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
it was definitely like it felt,
Have you heard the Regular Show theory? No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it was definitely like a reminder that these creators are like kind of, privileged white guys in their 20s kind of a thing. Like it wasn't a bad show, but that episode was a little bit like, yikes.
I was like, what the fuck is this? Are they like libertarian?
I will say there is an episode that was ridiculous. It's cartoony, so it's supposed to be ridiculous, but it was like they're trying to find fireworks for the 4th of July, and they go to this dude who smuggles gunpowder in chili peppers, which is why like Mexican chilies are much spicier than American in the episode, because he loads them full of gunpowder, and he like gets mad when someone questions his chile rellenos. He's like, he literally in the thickest accent. I can't do the accent. He's like, He's like, I have the spiciest chili rellenos in all of the world, and everyone knows.
Spiciest chili rellenos in all of the world.
It's like it's more like who's like a good actor to compare that to?
Antonio Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro.
Okay.
He screams like that guy is like. And so I think that guy was played by a white guy, but it was, you know.
Of course.
I have the spiciest chili rellenos in all of the world. Like a Spanish.
But yeah, it was like that show was a little bit weird about stuff like, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Where it's like it's a thing we mentioned before, where I did this interview for this artist, this photographer, and one of her questions was how did I feel about perceived Mexicans in American media? And the one thing was like either we're a punchline, we're the best friend, like we're the side character, or we're literally just the background.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was like a thing where it's like you have characters that are kind of featured that are Hispanic, but they don't explore them any further than they have an accent and talk like this and roll their R's.
Mm-hmm.
Like that guy had zero backstory. He was just, that was all of his character was that accent.
Yeah, inside and outside. When I say inside, I mean like in animation and in like just general TV shows. There's always like this thing where there's like they might have like a Latino character, but they don't show any like they don't show any part of their identity in that way until there's an episode where the family comes to visit, and then all of a sudden they're speaking Spanish and getting all mad and fighting all the time. And like it comes out, and then the parents leave. There's some stupid resolution that needs to be found at the end.
You know what's crazy is that I would definitely be like, it would be like over my head, these references, meaning, you know, like the angry family, like the Mexican dude that sells chili peppers and shit, chili peppers. But then I met somebody like Vince Caldera, Luis Lemus, and Daniel Cabral, and I'm like, oh, all Mexicans aren't just fucking crazy hotheads, dude. Because that's basically what I was raised around, you know?
Yeah.
So I meet these nerdy ass fucking Mexican dudes. I'm just kidding.
Nerds.
No, they have a great podcast. Go check it out, Sleepover Podcast. But I literally, that moment when I met them at an open mic, like this is before I got sober and everything, you know, I was like, oh my God, this is weird. Because they're from this area, you know, like the Eagle Rock area or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? Like, is this how Eagle Rock Mexicans are?
Yeah.
Like, those references would go over my head. I wouldn't be thinking, like, what the fuck are they portraying us as?
Because you think it's just normal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing is I don't think that it's the way that it's done, because it's not that it's untrue or anything, but it's the fact that it's every single show, every single time we see it. There was a TV show that, I'm sure there's other shows out there, you know, I'm from a certain era, but there was a TV show out there, wasn't animated, but it was called The Brothers Garcia, and I used to love that show. It was on Nickelodeon, it was live action, so you would have watched it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like a Mexican Malcolm in the Middle. Like it centered around one guy with two other brothers, and like it was exactly the same. Like I related as a kid to Malcolm in the Middle a lot, like super heavily. That like just being a poor family that was always getting in trouble, dysfunctional, but like always out, like looking out for each other. I related heavily to that. And then when Brothers Garcia came out, I was like, oh shit, this shit is really for me. Like this is what it is. Cause it was the same thing, except the characters were Mexican. So they dealt more with like, it was just closer to home.
Yeah, and going back to what I said about like I didn't know these kind of like regular people existed Mexicans wise.
Yeah,
because I think because of these tropes that I've seen on TV, where mostly in live action and like Home Improvement and shows like that when I was younger, Married with Children, like all these shows that I fucking did watch as a kid, you know, like I just every single time I saw a Mexican, it wasn't that way. Or like growing up watching Cantinflas. Or watching Ruby, like all these hot-headed, like emotional ass Mexicans, or Latinos in sense. I always thought that's how things were. Granted, I'm not saying I think that way still. I'm not saying that was a good way to think. Anyway, sorry. And also, I want to say my mom wasn't the only reason why I didn't watch cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, it was like, what's that term I've heard a lot on like TikTok and in the internet? We're not a monolith. It's like there isn't one kind of us, but we're always portrayed the same. And going back to what you say, I make that joke all the time that it's like they have to remind you that your character is Mexican. Like they don't talk about it at all for the entire season. And then one episode a season, he'll get to say abuelita a bunch. Yeah. And then that's it.
Yeah. What was that video that you sent us? Sorry, go ahead. You first.
It's a strange time right now because literally right now, meaning like the last maybe 3 or 4 years, we can start to understand the long-term ramifications of characters in TV and film. Because, you know, when they're first making this shit, they're not really thinking, I don't know, maybe smart-ass people that started the whole filmography thing, like blackface and stuff like that, they maybe understood the long-term ramifications and chose to do it anyways because they were mad racist back then, you know? Yeah. But now where we're able to look back and be like, wow, look at how much culture has shifted because of these things, you know? And to see that shit kind of portrayed still to this day, like in a small way, Ant-Man with Michael Peña's character, but I like the character. But I don't know if that's funny. I don't know if that's because I'm brainwashed from the past already, you know?
I mean, for me, I feel it was just because of Michael Peña is a dope actor. Yeah. But like I remember the minute that you see his character on screen, all that shit he says, like that upset me. That was like, of course, that's
the
how
one
you
saving grace
the
of that, though. That small example is that he is the funniest character of the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's also like that was just that opening bit. The rest of the show, he's like he goes to wine. It's made to be funny because you don't expect a guy like that to go there, but he like goes to wine tastings and art shows, and is just like a normal person.
I don't like that either.
Outside of this character, I don't like that it's meant to be funny, but it is a like. Yeah, that's actually accurate. We are regular people.
Yeah, my mom loves wine.
I think the best. We're going into all kinds of stuff now, but there's a movie called Hamlet 2.
I think I've seen it, but I didn't finish it.
It's about like a washed up director that goes to teach at a inner city high school. That one is really funny, but they do a really good like flip on that trope. Kind of like they did in Ant-Man, where he's trying to get one kid to be his lead actor because he's the one, and he's like, no, my dad won't let me. So then he goes, like he goes like, curse. What does he say? Curse the like these Latin machismo, like
curse your machismo upbringing. Yeah.
Curse your machismo upbringing. And then they go to the parents' house, they're super like wealthy, they're like they're both doctors, and he's like, this script is garbage. Like
he's like, actually, his doctorate is in what is it? Not theater. Something Shakespearean philosophy, and he's like, they're both like apt credible for resources for this play, and they're like, we just think it's tasteless and bad. You wrote a bad play.
That was really funny, but it's like all that stuff. I try to not be like hypersensitive to these things, like
well, definitely, but we're talking about it, and it's like the realization of things while we're talking, because like that's what I'm realizing right now, like the whole thing I said about Mexicans from Eagle Rock being woke. Right. Like I didn't know that existed, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with me, I fucking love Shakespeare, dude. Like those things didn't cause me to be a certain Mexican growing up.
Right.
I've read so much fucking Shakespeare. I could recite Shakespeare right now, you know?
Yeah.
I love Shakespeare. There was no Mexicans in Shakespeare. There were like probably Spanish dudes, like, I don't know, Italians, I don't know. But I don't know, other than just to say that those tropes didn't cause me to live a certain way, even though I was dumbfounded by this counter trope of Mexicans that live in Eagle Rock.
Yeah, I think it's with the portrayal of it. It's how they're handled. I feel like there's very few instances where I feel like something is like, I feel like it either has to be solely, this is specifically for Latin Americans or like Latinos in the United States. It's either like our depictions are either in your face or just to the side. So like if you have a show like something like Mucha Lucha or I don't know what other show, but it's either like it's all fucking, they're all Latinoed out, or it's like you don't talk about it ever. And it's interesting because I would like to see more characters that are portrayed kind of like me or like you, like, you know, even it's like a weird balance, and I don't know where that line is or how to find that balance, but it's like it's hard to find something that feels truthful, because I like a show like Gentified, I relate to them in so much that like they're Latinos and I know people that have similar struggles, but you know, I'm not from East LA, I don't speak Spanish, I'm not part of I'm still learning about all the stuff that goes on. within those shows. So yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see something else a little bit outside of that.
Yeah.
More.
And there was like, sorry, did you have more?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, one of the biggest things for me was just like how it affected not only how I, connected as a child growing up to my own community, but like how people around me perceive. Like there was this TikTok maybe a year ago. I don't remember her name, and I'm not gonna like out her or anything, but she did this character, and the character was a toddler, and one of the jokes that she made as one of her like sketches was the toddler hung out next door and their neighbors are Mexican, and she comes back and she's talking in a thick accent and asking for tequila, and the joke was like that she's a toddler she doesn't know any better, so she's doing these things that perceives racist, but it's also like that's also like you're still kind of being racist because you're portraying the idea that
racist.
You're like saying that that's what your neighbors are like, and it's like that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes from just like not knowing, or like the only version you ever see is like in movies and comedy, and either like he said, like it's either right in your face and it's portrayed kind of stereotypically, or it's just not mentioned, but we're in the background. We're always any movie where like any superhero movie where like two superheroes bash through a wall, there's always like a maid on the other side just surprised, and she's always either black or Mexican. Yeah. And it's like that's a thing of like we're always there but we're never part of the story, and when we are, it's like either we're the best friend and it's like never mentioned, or we're the main character and it's like a specifically Mexican story.
Yeah. With
like a small exceptions that kind of went over people's heads. Like I'll mention again, the Blue Beetle is Hispanic, and that's not like his story revolves around his upbringing. Like he's the son of immigrants, so that's mentioned in the story, but it's not the huge thing. Like the alien that attaches him isn't Mexican or anything. So like that's one exception to the rule, I would say. The other exceptions are, or like otherwise it is, what was it? Mucha Lucha, there was El Tigre, there's been several PBS shows. One I liked, and I can't remember what it was called, I think it was called Word Girl, it was this weird, it was to teach kids, it was to promote literacy and stuff, and it was to teach kids to like be interested in words, the proper words to use and like what they mean. And her superpower was that she knew like all the words and how to spell them. The one thing I thought was interesting about this character was she was Hispanic and her family spoke Spanish in the cartoon, but that wasn't the point of the cartoon. And it was like one of the only cartoons I've ever seen for kids of a certain age, like one of those developmental cartoons that did that, where it was like, this isn't the main story, this is just who this character is. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it normalizes seeing this everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was just thinking while you were saying that about how our perceptions are based off of like representation in media, and like I'm a big fan of King of the Hill. It's one of my favorite shows.
But what did they do?
Well, my biggest criticism of King of the Hill is that their portrayal of Enrique and his family is not like, I don't know. I relate more to the Hill family than I do to Enrique. Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm just enjoying this moment right now.
Oh, that I'm criticizing something that I love?
Yes.
Because you're like, fuck cartoons.
Yes, fuck cartoons. Anyways, what were we saying?
Yeah, no, they have Enrique, who is his Mexican coworker. And there's like a couple episodes, but particular one that I'm thinking about where like Enrique doesn't want to deal with his family issues. And like he becomes obsessive and like tries to like live with the Hill family essentially. And it just like makes him out to be like super dramatic and like almost like a child. Like it's weird. I just like the way that they portray Enrique as like this laughing, bumbling kind of idiot. Like,
yeah.
Very like good-hearted, but also just like dumb. And that's something that it made me feel like that's how Mexicans are. Like that's how Latinos are. There's a lot of sense, especially we talked about like in one of the first episodes about realizing that you were Mexican. And I think it's part of that is that like the portrayal that we see is kind of like so outrageously outside of whatever like the American normal behavior is. Normalcy, yeah. I'd so much outside of that like it made me feel a certain way about like my own people, that I didn't connect to them because of what I watched, because I was like, oh, they're like that, you know. So, you know, like that's why when I was a kid and I kind of had that realization, like, holy shit, I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big deal, you know.
Like, I think people have done a good job of giving us the benefit of the doubt, and that we don't represent all Mexicans or all Latinos, and that's a great thing. And I feel like, you know, the conclusion to this argument of like more representation, accurate representation rather, isn't like get a Mexican in the writing room and give him all of the fucking, what's it called? Give him all the pressure of like getting everything right. Like, we need to be presented right. It's just like, don't be a white person going out of your way to make a funny joke that's kind of hack now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we're figuring it out, and we're seeing a lot more of these shows pop up.
It's getting better.
Yeah, it's getting better, but I think you're right. It definitely just has to do with just like white people.
Because I mean, like a person, imagine you just got a job writing at Fox for a new TV show, and you listen to this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, this is a lot of pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's true. I mean,
we're all comedians. We all want to be in writing rooms.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't want to be the only Mexican in there or be looked at only for like, all right, Enrique got a line right now. What is it, Gerardo? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel just like, I don't know, white people have had the liberty to write all races and colors, like of the recent past, you know?
Yeah.
If you know, I don't know how to integrate. It's been so fucking lopsided that it's like the integration of having colored BIPOC creators come in and write for these characters is a weird thing to attack.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an attack. I think
so. No, attack as in like from a creator standpoint.
Oh,
like,
okay.
How am I going to attack the script?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I was like attacking anyone.
Not attacking these. Okay. Whew. Yeah. No. I definitely agree. I think we were having a conversation recently, well, in the last few months, but about certain shows like Gentefied, where there's like certain shows that are Latino that are kind of like not reaching a certain mark in quality. They're very good, very entertaining, but there's just like something is missing. And we were talking about like the experience that like very few Latinos have experience in animation, or being showrunners, being producers, being directors. So it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, we just don't have the experience. Not that we're not capable, we're not talented, and it's just different. We're still learning.
Yeah, it's in a sense, it's like we're not allowed to fail. It's like we get this one shot. If we fail, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a lot of that comes with the pressure. And we should be allowed to fail.
Yeah,
we should be allowed to say that something's not good, but that we're gonna keep trying.
Like the chances we take should see the screen. And if we fail that far, we should be allowed that failure. Now, don't repeat the same mistake twice, I would say.
Yeah.
But and I'm coming from a very dumb place saying this, but I feel like if I were to fail after getting an opportunity, I would be given no more opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, how many times has Adam Sandler failed?
Yeah.
And he comes out with Uncut Gems.
I mean, I give credit to Robert Downey Jr. for getting sober, but that whole fucking debacle of him like sleeping in a kid's bed and like coming back and being Iron Man afterwards. Like, that's a huge fail. He was a huge drug addict, alcoholic, running around Hollywood, still getting cast in movies, you know?
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, that's not to say, that's not an attack on him. It's just to say, like, look at what we allow people. And he should be given an opportunity. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is that, look at what we allow other people to bounce back from. But if somebody fucking makes El Chicano and it doesn't do well, like, then it's like, oh, I guess we're not going to have any fucking Mexican superheroes.
Yeah, bro. I mean, Freddie Prinze fucking killed himself, dude. Like he had one of the biggest shows on network television and still killed himself, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. The past can tell you more about your future than you guessing what's going to happen, Fu. Let us fucking fail and see what happens. Dude, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. What do you think, Ryan?
I was going to talk about something else.
Go for it. That's all.
Another thing that I wanted to touch on was like, it's not very prevalent like in the storytelling, but it's not blatant. I would say it's more subtle, but it's almost always there of like this idea that we have to acclimate to them. Like we have to make them feel good about, in order for them to want to integrate us, we have to make. One thing I've noticed, I used it as reference before when I mentioned comic books, but the CW trio of shows that were like out for a while, Was it the Flash, the Arrow? I forget the third one. They all had a Mexican character, which I mentioned. One thing that I thought was specific about, it was Supergirl, about a kind of Mexican character was, it was one that was like woke and modern, and the idea was always that his immediate family wasn't like that. They were more conservative, and that was the issue between the two of them. And like, so it was a thing where like you have this modern depiction of us, but it's always tied to like, but that's where Latinos families come from. That's how they are. And it's like, no, they're not any more or less conservative than any other old fashioned kind of family. And the fact that that's specific, like their family is like that, but the white people's family isn't, you know what I mean? Like in, Supergirl, there was one of the characters, the main characters who's white, discovers that she's lesbian, and she starts a relationship with a Latino woman, and this Latino woman knows more about this community than she does, so she's her reference point. So it's supposed to be a big twist when you find out that her father hates the fact that she's homosexual, and that's like a huge fight between them. And it was like, you know, I understand that that's a conflict for the sake of the story, but it's like that. It's weird that we're only ever portrayed that way, you know, in this specific circumstance where it's like the character that's the friend of the main character isn't like this, but where he comes from is, and it's always like that with this character. It's like,
and also these shows you're talking about are the money makers for CW. Like Gotham, fucking Supergirl, Flash, WB mixed with DC Universe equals fucking cash money for them, and they choose to depict us as the Blue Beetle that has like a crazy ass mom or whatever.
What I'm trying to say is like with this character, the thing that I don't like about it is it's implying the idea is that the only way that we'll accept you in our circle is if you're not like the way we think the rest of you are. Yeah, is a thing where like they're looking for a version of us that is friendlier to them, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
It's like handicapping us. It's weird because I was thinking about how like hopefully I'm not being sensitive about this, but I feel like with other cultures, particularly like Desi and like East Asian cultures, I'm talking about how what I see from white people is that they revere their storytelling, like they revere their like they give them the room, and it's like it almost like exotifies it, but they allow them to like tell these stories and allow them to take control. But like when it comes to like being Mexican or being Latino, it's like we have to tell a story that fits that. Like they want to learn about other cultures, even if it is in like a weird fetishizing way. But with us, it's like, oh, we're gonna tell you how you are.
Yeah,
it's like people that move to LA and tell you how it is here. It's you don't fucking know, but they're gonna make us out to be a certain way.
I think the reason it's harder is because in a way, like we're from here already, and that's like the biggest thing of like it. It's one of those things where it makes them confront, you know, where they come from and what that means for us, and how we're a part of that. So that's why it's different to make that they can't separate us because we were already here. So it upsets them to confront, you know, you've seen it like a ton of times, like, you know, white people hating the word colonizer and like understanding what that means. And the argument is always, you know, well, we didn't do that, our ancestors didn't. It's like, yeah, but the idea is one, that you're benefiting from a system they set up, and two, that when that's pointed out to you, you get angry and you know, go on the offensive and you try to attack us for it. It's like, that's why we're using that word. And I think that's why it's different from like when they give other, you know, ethnic backgrounds a more fair chance or window to do what they want, because they can make that separation without, you know. That's where I think that comes
without
from.
Seeing like a financial loss, in my opinion.
I don't know.
I mean, it always comes back to to that.
Yeah,
like, for sure. I mean, part of it's you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Like the two. I think that is a really good point about like, again, we are like the forever foreigners, and it's hard we can't be separated because we're so close. Latinos and Native people, like, they don't have a leg to stand on. But the fact that for some reason we are seen as so foreign that they don't want to take the financial risk of putting out a show.
Yeah.
It's like all of these people, there's so many shows where like people are technically Latino or something. Like what's the dude from Jimmy Neutron? Sheen, yeah,
was Hispanic.
Yeah,
I think his last name was Estevez.
Sheen. Yeah, and he had his own spin-off show.
What's his name? Garcia.
Yeah. It's but it's like the most hint that you get of that is that his grandma made empanadas or something. Like he talks about empanadas like in his intro.
spin-off he makes a giant quesadilla.
Yeah, that's it. It's like hardly ever comes up. There's so many shows where that happens, where there's characters that are technically Latino, but they're usually light skinned and they don't ever reference it.
Yeah, even in voice acting in general, like Latino voice actors are very prevalent. A lot of them played very famous characters, but they're never, the ones they're known for are never Latino like they are. Like the dude, I'm pretty sure the dude that played Rico also played Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. Everyone knows Rocco's Modern Life. That dude's Hispanic. That dude's Latino, and he like very rarely gets those roles. He I think the most notable thing is that he is often used as the impersonator for Antonio Banderas because he's very good at it. But outside of that, like the most notable things he's known for are his white voices, or his white presenting voices.
I only know because you have heard of this show, the Hunter x Hunter.
I've only heard of it. I've never watched it ever.
Yeah. No, I know. But on the English dub, I found out that the voice actor who voiced the main boy was Latina. It was a Latina woman.
Yeah. The Flea is Dexter. She replaced the actress that died, the original actress voice of Dexter. She also plays Cheese on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Everyone knows who Cheese is.
No clue of any of these shows.
We're going to Google it after. I'm going to show you.
But yeah, it's just a weird thing. I don't know that much about voice acting, but I do know it's like, it's crazy because you tend to see like people of color, BIPOC voice actors only getting opportunities to play those characters, and they don't ever come around that often. But white people get to play any fucking race or culture that they want. Yeah. Like, and then they fall back and say, well, it's about just getting the right voice. Like,
it's a stupid fallback. Like, in conclusion, I guess, like, I fucking hate white people. I'm just kidding. In conclusion, dude, if we had a Mexican show where being Mexican was not part of the show, that would be amazing. Obviously, the great aspects of our culture, and maybe a fight once in a while, because that's what really living like a Mexican is. You know, we fight just as much as white people do. We're just not as passive aggressive, and that's a fucking diss. Dude.
Or it's not because we're Mexican.
Exactly. We fight because we're human. We feel emotional because that's how humans are. We're the only conscious species on Earth. You know, just because our skin's a little browner. Like, I'm sorry that you guys fucking have like your all white parties and stuff. I hate white people. I'm kidding. But anyways, that's my last thought on that. Like, give us a chance to fail. Like I said before.
Yeah. Keep giving us like we should be allotted the same opportunities as anybody else, and you know, there's people like John Leguizamo and like Fred Armisen and the fuck is his name, Julio from SNL.
Aurelio Sanchez.
No. These what I'm talking about is people that start companies, start shows that are meant for Latino filmmakers and creators. Like with Los Spookies, John Leguizamo started a production company that that is meant to help like Latino filmmakers.
Richard Montanez shared a post today on Instagram, and it's an all-white G&E crew, by the way. Anyways, that's what I noticed.
Yeah.
For the movie Flamin' Hot.
That's crazy. That the fact that they would have such a big story and they're all white.
Yeah.
Like.
I think it's just normalizing where you're like. This is the last thing I touch on, but someone made a post the other day of voice actors who are in like every cartoon, especially every adult cartoon, and they don't get any credit for it. And they mentioned these aren't Latino people, but there's a reason to bring it up. They mentioned Cree Summers, I forget the third name, and Keith Michael Richardson, who like everyone knows who Mark Hamill is, and a lot of people know who Tara Strong is. Both very great, very well known actors, but nobody knows who these other three people are, and they've been doing it just as long as them. Cree Summers played Susie Carmichael on Rugrats. She played a lot of very famous roles, and nobody knows who she is.
She plays almost every single major black character in animated shows.
Yeah, like she was a huge actress. She still is, but like she was utilized a lot in kid shows and like when adult cartoons started becoming more of a thing. She was used a lot in that as well, and so was Keith Michael Richardson. He plays Junior. He played Junior on the Cleveland Show. He's played I think he's played Megatron a couple times. He's like a huge voice actor. He played the Joker when WB tried to revamp Batman. I think it was called The Batman, and it, you know, so it's like it's BIPOC people in general, but obviously being of Latino descent, we're, you know, pushing for more Latino, but just in general, like just giving, it's all about giving us the same opportunities you give other people, the same recognition you give other people, and
yeah,
like
we work hard enough,
normalizing that we are also here doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. I mean, nobody helps us with the show.
Yeah,
it's so hard to do the things that we promise because there's so many things. There's no fucking other person off screen telling us like, you forgot to mention this, you forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
you know.
Like for me, going back to that interview I did, one of the other questions was like, what would you like to see represented in media? And it was like, honestly, just like a show where the main character is not white and it doesn't have to revolve around them not being white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a Latino where the show isn't completely surrounded by the fact that he's like the child of immigrants and stuff like that. Like Spider-Man, you know, Spider-Man could be Mexican and it wouldn't change anything. And we almost got one. Like what Milo is mixed race. Miles Morales is mixed race. He's half African American, half I think Puerto Rican. You know, but immediately people were against that, and that goes back to the other thing of like it also comes from the fans. Like if you give things a chance, you know, when they're swapped out, then we will get that other thing where it's just a brand new character without having to swap it out for a character.
Yeah, I don't believe in recasting famous superheroes as different races.
I think the only reason they do this because they're like testing to see how people see, because like
but still
BIPOC people are asking for this, but they're worried that the white people won't like it, so they're testing it, and that's part of the problem is like when you're so hard against even just that idea of it, and it's never even like replacing the character, it's always like an alternate universe or like a different, like with the Green Lantern, you know,
but you know, make a new fucking character. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Spider-Man is not the end-all, be-all superhero.
But
he shoots webs out of his wrist. Superman
no, I understand,
may have all these abilities, but don't just make him black and think everything's okay. I think it's still like a whitewashed way of trying to confront a real problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like one, it's on the corporation side where it's like that's not how you fix it, and I do agree. But the reason that they're doing that is, and it's still dumb, is because they have, in their minds, they have to test it first. They have to give us a sample before they can give us what we're asking for. And it's like, we're the ones that want it, but they're so worried about what the white audience is going to react to. And then every single time the white audience hates it, so they write the character out or they diminish its presence. And it's not until later when a different person, a person who's in position to do what they want with the character, a person of color, gets a chance to work with that character comes back. Like Miles Morales was kind of like pushed to the side, and they brought Peter Parker back in the comic books, and he wasn't really talked about much in the comics until the movie was made, Into the Spider-Verse, and then he was kind of brought back, and it was like, now everyone loves Miles Morales.
But I still stand by what I say. Don't make Spider-Man Mexican. Don't make Superman black, you know? I don't care about the financial side of things.
I just think it's more about identifying like why you're doing that.
Yeah.
I think what Gerardo's saying is like, make these characters and give them as much support as you give.
Yeah.
That, but also just there is a possibility that we can make a fucking character just as iconic and prolific as these ones that we're trying to recreate with different races. That's just adding to the racial problem here. You know, the race doesn't matter. Like in my eyes, Superman will always be white. In my eyes, Spider-Man will always be Peter Parker, Mr. PP. You know. Like if you make a you know, I don't know, a fucking, what's something that's not racist that a Mexican dude happened to have these superpowers about, you know, like not thinking like the Sandman. I don't know if that's kind of racist if a Mexican is Sandman, but but you know, instead of casting all these white villains, you know, giving a chance to somebody else. Spider-Man, Superman, these are fucking washed out white dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've made, like, somebody had a joke on stage the other day. In my life I've seen 3 Spider-Man 2s. You know, like it's just kind of like at a loss to us to do that now.
Yeah.
There's been how many different iterations of Superman since the 70s?
Yeah.
You know, why not just make what's the big idea behind, like, there's a black man that's like insanely powerful, you know? There's like this fear behind that kind of thinking, you know?
Yeah. Well, what I would say to that partly is what I'm trying to when I bring that up and when I tell people, like, don't get mad if they do that. The reason that I say that is because these characters are mantles. They're mantles that are allowed to be passed on, and they're mantles that have been passed on. Like, you know, the Flash, there's more than one Flash in the same storyline, in the same timeline, and nobody cared when that was passed down from, I forget Gary something, was passed down to Barry Allen. Like, Barry Allen wasn't the first Flash. You know, Green Lantern's been switched up before. And what I'm saying is nobody cares until they're switching from, like, white to another color, and then, like, nobody likes it. But it's like nobody noticed when they did that with the Flash. Nobody noticed when they did that with the Blue Beetle. Nobody noticed when they did that with, I think, even Ghost Rider switched a couple times.
Keep saying references, but I still feel the same way personally. You know, and I don't know how many people feel this same way that I do. But make a different. I'm not a comic book creator, dude. Like, if comic books are solely made by white people for white people, then let them have that. You know, they can never make trap music as well as black people do. You know, there's these different lanes that we're all in. They're not gonna make a superhero trap star. You know, like, that would be interesting though. You know, but the people that write these comic books are obviously not racist, but just very white centric. You know.
That's
like,
racist.
Yeah, it's that.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, if they do it,
that's their reality. You write what you know. You know, like Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan were talking about this the other day.
Yeah,
it's like that's what you write what you know. They're not doing anything wrong just because they were raised in this atmosphere of all white. You know, it is a bad atmosphere to be raised in. I'm not fighting, or I'm not, you know, advocating that. But in my opinion, when you write what you know, like, I would write about fucking burning my mouth with bean and cheese burritos. You know what I mean? Like, that's my reality. You know, yeah, there's a bigger power structure problem of, like, distribution and creating these things, but still, like, I don't know.
But that's getting into, like, what we were talking about before, is like including other people that are not just white in the creation and, like, in the creative process of these characters. The reason why I don't give a shit about, like, if there's a black Superman or Asian Hulk or whatever, is because, well, it's true that they're
making an Asian Hulk.
They did, like, years ago.
already.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, first of all, comic books are not fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, it's all made up shit. But also, like, these characters get revamped all the fucking time. They had, like, a fucking noir 1920s style Spider-Man. They had a whole, like, 1690, what is it called?
2099.
Whatever. Like, the future, like, they change this stuff up all the time. And for me, Green Lantern was always black. And then now the fucking Ryan Reynolds is playing the Green Lantern, and I'm like, fuck this dude. I don't know who this is. But I'm just like, they change it up so many times, it really doesn't matter. Like, now in this universe, this is this universe's Spider. That's what Enter the Spider-Verse is all about.
Yeah.
Like, about how the different universes. Nobody gave a shit about the Japanese anime character.
Yeah.
When that was around.
Yeah.
But now, because it's a black kid, people are making a big deal about it. Or when we want to make someone Latino, like, it's just a whole. Peter Parker still exists. That's the whole point of the Spider-Verse. All of these characters still exist.
It is a very
they're
interesting
shared
way to
mantles,
go
like,
around about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's like what I'm saying is, like, it's done all the time. So when it happens to be a different color or different, like, they make Iceman gay or something, like, just. I get that it's like they don't have to be doing this thing. They could make a new character, but when they do it, what I'm saying is it doesn't deserve the hate that it sometimes gets.
I think it does. I think it's very, like I said, allow us to fail, dude. Like El Diablo.
Well, that's the thing, is that's what they're doing. Like,
El Diablo was a Mexican superhero. Am I wrong?
I don't know.
There was a movie recently where they made, like, a movie. El Chicano?
Yeah. No, I think you're talking about Suicide Squad, El Diablo.
No, there was a movie about a Mexican superhero.
It's called El Chicano.
Okay. Yeah, Machete. Dude, like that one's good. I mean, for the first one, like don't make fucking 13 machetes. But, you know, create a fucking universe that we can identify with, relate with. You know, just like we created a podcast that so many thousands of people kind of relate with, you know?
Hundreds and millions of thousands of people.
In the future.
Well, that's part of what we're saying.
But don't use, this is what I got my issue with, is like, don't use something a right man wrote and be like, oh, that's famous. Like, I could never do what that fool did. You know what I
the
mean?
reason that they're doing that is because kids are identifying with these other superheroes because of other reasons outside of race.
But
like, I like Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Second, you know, I think the next one I like is Batman. Like, those are two of my favorite. And if I had saw that they were like Hispanic before, I would have fucking loved that.
Yeah, but if you take yourself out of the equation here, we're thinking about kids that were your age when you fell in love with Spider-Man. You know,
Yeah.
we're thinking about kids that are so easily accessible because they have access to the internet. They're not just only reading the funny papers. You know what I mean? They're not just seeing what they can find in newspapers. they have TikTok. They have different ways of connecting to this audience that is dying for somebody to fall in love with, like their older brother fell in love with Spider-Man.
well, that's what I was gonna say to what Gerardo. I'm trying to what Jerry was saying.
Jesus Christ.
was remember how like what a big deal it was for when it came up, all of the black kids that fell in love with Black Panther and Wakanda, and like they had something to grab onto, like to attach them, to see themselves in. Same thing happened with Star Wars with Finn. Like now they saw that representation, and I do agree. Give them a character. Give them a character. Give us a character.
Well, what I'm saying is both can exist, and it shouldn't just be one.
Well, let him finish what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, shit. No, but like,
I believe in both arguments. I'm just trying to make mine more solidified. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
no,
yours is
I hear
solid.
I hear what he's saying, and I mean, I hear what both of you are saying. I like I said, I don't care. I think it shouldn't be a big deal. I think we should allow all these characters to be whatever race or culture. Like their origin stories can always change up, and that's tight. And we shouldn't get upset. And white guys are dumb for getting mad when they change up a character, because they can always go back and read the stuff that they love. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
At the same time, that energy that they're putting into holding on to Iron Man or Spider-Man or whomever, like all of these characters, they what they should do is make a Latino character that's his origin story, that's who he is, and put the same energy behind those characters, prop those people up, and make something that's new and cool and innovative, because we just don't have that yet. There wasn't always Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there wasn't always
Spider-Man, Superman.
Yeah. And like we can make these new things that are really cool. I think the problem is that for some reason, when it comes to being Mexican or Latino, there's this issue of how to portray that in a way that people can connect to, because there's that pressure to like make them super foreign when they don't have to be foreign. Like we're just as American as anyone else that's born here, you know. We should have a character that we can latch on to or associate ourselves with.
Which brings me to a game I wanted to play with you guys, and I'll let you guys think while I state mine, if you guys can do that. I want us to create a cartoon character on our own. I already have mine. I'll explain mine while you guys think of yours. Let's create a cartoon character that'll be great for Mexican people, right? Agree with me.
I mean, I'm on board.
Ryan?
Here's the funny thing.
Oh, wait, what?
This fool has a character.
Okay, if you have a character...
There's a reason why it's funny. It's because it's something you already talked about, and I
Yes.
forgot that I had created this before I ever met this person.
Okay.
But
Let him say the thing.
You say yours.
So we're creating Latino cartoon characters. Mine, I've stated it before, Maseca Boy. So there's a family gets together one December evening to make a lot of tamales. There's a freak accident where Tia Lucy brings a bunch of nuclear material by accident to the tamale making house. Maseca Boy isn't even supposed to be there. He's supposed to be with his dad at the movie theater, but he was feeling sick. Now the combination of him being sick and the radioactive material that Tia Lucy brought causes him to turn into Maseca Boy, where he can throw mesa at people whenever he wants to.
That sounds like how I got my scar.
I do have a question though. Does it have like? Are you specifically looking for comic characters or just any cartoon?
Cartoon, basically cartoon.
Just any cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I want to go next only because it's something I don't know if we talked before the episode or in the episode, but we've already mentioned it, and you're gonna think it's really funny.
What?
This is before I started doing stand up, so I never knew that this person existed. But I created a character called Luis Lemons.
Luis
21. I created a character. I stopped creating him because he looked too much like Peanut, the puppet from Jeff Dunham. So I didn't want to start over, and I got really mad. But I wanted to create a character. He was autistic. That was the thing. Like the story revolves him being autistic, but also he's Hispanic. So I drew a character that kind of like had a big head, and everyone called him Lemonhead, and that was going to be like the name of the comic. And then I didn't get a cease and desist, but then someone went, if I did do that, I probably would get sued by Lemonheads. But
what's Luis Lemon's backstory?
It's like just like it's like that show Clarence. It's like it's just about a young kid. He happens to be autistic, and it's not super prevalent. It's not like trying to shove it in people's faces, but that was the idea. It was like I was going to use my experience as a kid and funny interactions I had to create this character. But
what is Luis Lemon's backstory?
Ryan's backstory.
It's my backstory. He's a autistic Latin American kid. That's it.
Okay.
He doesn't have backstory because he's only like 8. 8-year-olds don't have backstories.
Also, he hasn't seen Clarence before.
That's like the thing. It's like a kid's cartoon. He doesn't have like an origin story. The cartoon just starts.
So my second boy is the best one so far.
You're not even into cartoons. You do not get to judge.
What's yours, Dominic?
Dominic's the judge. He's impartial.
Oh, man. I was just thinking, what's the show that was on UPN or was on Channel 13 that was about like those kids there was Christopher Lloyd and Gilbert Gottfried were on it. They like
it was PBS. It was math, right? It was about math.
Yeah. Well,
cyber something.
Cyber
kids.
I don't know. I want to do a PBS show about a Mexican kid that wears the same hoodie every single day that is good at math, and he sits at the back of the class and does math. But also, there's a monster.
Where's the monster? Is it in the math?
The monster is in the math, Ryan.
The monster is the quadratic equation.
Is it just called Dominic?
I'm figuring this out. You guys fucking... I definitely want it to be a math show, and I want the math kid to be good at math, and his name is Santiago or something like that. What
if he's an anti-villain and he helps people break into bank vaults because he's so good at math?
He's a good kid.
Oh, you're right.
What if the monster's name is Nick and you can call it Dom and
you
Nick?
Motherfucker.
He hates both of those names. He hates being called Dom and he hates being called Nick. Dom and Nick.
I hate you so much.
Dom-N-Nick.
I want it to be a math show.
It's gonna be a math show. Dom is the main character. The monster's name is Nick.
What if the N is, instead of an N, it's a plus sign? Dom plus Nick.
I want it to be like Static Shock, but it's Static Math.
Static. So he's like
Static Math.
All right. Well, that's it
Statistics?
for today. Yeah. So that's it for today. My name is. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at IsimoPod, ISIMOPOD. We have exciting announcements coming up soon. Email us at isimopod@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, leave a comment, follow us on Spotify, leave an Apple rating review. And my name is Gerardo Alarcon. Yeah, no, it sounds weird.
I'm Dominic Angel.
I'm Ryan Reyes.
Also, if you made it this far, please comment below what Latino shows that we should be watching that we missed out on.
Yes.
Or let us know which one you invented.
Yes.
Yeah, come up with your Latin show.
Luis Lemons is taken.
Maseca Boy is taken.
Yeah.
If you want to collaborate on Static Math.
I'm open to a collaboration on Maseca Boy.
Wait, is his cape like a dried corn husk?
Yeah, probably.
That's funny. He's like Spider-Man, but it's masa.
And then whenever he sees a villain, he goes, "Tumale."
You know my my character's catchphrases?
What?
Don't Don't fly.
Don't fly.
East of my podcast.
East of my podcast.
Don't fly.